Hello everyone and welcome to Economics with Mubdiul. I am Mubdiul Hassan, a UGC NET qualified economics educator. Thank you for joining me on what I hope will be an exciting journey into economics. Many people think economics is only about money, banks, or stock markets. Today I want to convince you otherwise. Economics is actually the story of human civilization. It is the story of how people survived, traded, cooperated, competed, and progressed. Thousands of years ago, early humans hunted animals and gathered fruits. There were no shops, no currency, and no online payments. If someone had an extra fish but wanted grain, they had to exchange directly. This was the barter system. It worked until societies became larger. Gradually, people discovered that precious metals and coins made exchange easier. Later came paper currency, banks, digital payments, and UPI. Every stage reflects an economic problem and an economic solution. So, economics is not merely a subject, it is story of human choices. Throughout this lecture, I will ask you questions. Pause the video, think, and answer in the comments. This is how the real learning happens. This course starts with absolute basic. We are not memorizing definitions, we are learning to think like economists. Whenever you hear a news headline about inflation, unemployment, the union budget, petrol prices, or GDP, you should eventually be able to understand what lies behind those headlines. Imagine watching a cricket match. Most people only enjoy the boundaries. An economist enjoys asking why the ticket prices differ, why players receive different salaries, why sponsorship matters, and why broadcasting rights are worth thousands of crores. Economics trains us to ask those questions. So, this course starts from absolute zero. You don't need any previous knowledge. We will build concepts one step at a time. Think of this series like learning to ride a bicycle. We won't start by racing. We will first learn how to balance. Once the basics are strong, every advanced topic becomes much more easier. So tell me in the comments, why are you learning economics? Is it for the exams, college, a job, or just curiosity? I would genuinely love to know. By the end of this lecture, you should understand what economics is, why scarcity exists, why choices are unavoidable, and how microeconomics differ from macroeconomics. These ideas form the foundation of every topic that follows. Let us begin with a question. If resources were unlimited, would economics exist? Imagine everyone had unlimited money, unlimited land, unlimited time, and unlimited food. Would anyone need to decide? Of course not. The famous economist Lionel Robbins defined economics as the science that studies human behavior as a relationship between ends and scarce means which have alternative uses. That sounds difficult, so let's simplify it. So, human wants are endless, but our resources are limited. Therefore, we must choose. Even Adam Smith, often called the father of economics, was fascinated by a simple question. Why are diamonds expensive while water, which is essential for life, is usually cheap? That question later evolved into theories of value, demand, and supply. Suppose you receive rupees 500. You want pizza, books, a movie ticket, and to save some money. You cannot have everything. That simple decision is economics. Now the question arises, why economics matter? Economics influences every aspects of our life. During the COVID-19 pandemic, governments had to choose between protecting public health and keeping businesses open. Those were economic decisions as much as medical ones. When governments prepare budget, they decide whether more money should go to education, defense, healthcare, or infrastructure. Since resources are limited, choosing one priority often means postponing the other. So, economics therefore helps individuals, businesses, and governments make better decisions. In personal life, it will help you make smarter decisions about spending, saving, and investment. You will be able to explain why prices rise or fall in the market. In businesses, it will help the firms decide what to produce, how much to charge, what technique of production they should use. It will explain the competition they face, what pricing strategy they should use, and about profit. And in society and policy making, it helps government design tax policy, welfare schemes, trade rules. It also explains the issues like inflation, unemployment, and poverty. Scarcity. Scarcity is the foundation of economics. Notice that scarcity does not necessarily mean poverty. Even wealthy countries face scarcity because time, skilled labor, clean air, and natural resources are limited. Think about your own day. You have only 24 hours. If you spend 3 hours scrolling social media, you cannot spend those same 3 hours studying or resting. Time itself is a scarce resource. Now, this idea shaped the human history. The Industrial Revolution transformed production because machines allowed societies to use scarce labor more efficiently. Later, technological progress enabled countries to produce more goods with the same resources. So, economics studies these changes. So, scarcity basically is the concept that our resources are limited, but humans' wants are unlimited. So, whatever choices we make, it is because of this scarcity. We cannot have everything because we have unlimited wants. So, because of that scarcity, because of the limited resources, we need to choose. An example is if you have 100 rupees, you can either buy a book, have an ice cream, or go to a movie, buy a movie ticket, not all of them together. So scarcity allows us, or scarcity is the need to choose, and it is the foundation of all economic problems that arises. So far, we have understood that economics is all about making choices because resources are limited. But here is an interesting question. Why economists study these choices? Whose choices are they studying? Are they studying your choices, a shopkeeper's choices, a company's choices, or an entire country's choices? The answer is all of them. And that's exactly why economics is divided into two major branches, microeconomics and macroeconomics. Now, don't get scared by these fancy names. These are actually very simple. Let us break them down. What does micro mean? The word micro comes from the Greek word micros, meaning small. Think about microscope. When you use a microscope, you don't see the whole world. You zoom in, you focus on one tiny object. That is what microeconomics does. It zooms into small economics unit, that is the individual unit. It studies individual consumers, individual families, individual farms, individual markets, and individual industries. Now imagine if you walk into a tea stall. Yesterday, a cup of tea cost rupees 10. Today, it costs rupees 12. Naturally, you will ask, why did the price increase? That questions belongs to microeconomics because we are looking at one product in one market sold by one seller to individual customers. Another example, say suppose Apple launches a new iPhone. Instead of say rupees 50,000, the price is say 2,20,000. Why? How did they decide the price? Will consumers still buy it? How many phones should they manufacture? Should they reduce the prices during Diwali? All these questions belong to microeconomics. Now, interestingly, the earliest economists mainly focused on microeconomics. One of them was Adam Smith. In his famous book, The Wealth of Nation, in 1776, he tried to understand why markets work, why prices change, how competition helps society, and why people acting in their own self interest can sometimes benefit everyone. His idea was the famous idea of the invisible hand. He believed that when individuals try to improve their own lives, society often benefits too. We'll study this concept later on in detail. Now, everyday micro questions ask like, why are tomatoes expensive this week? Why one restaurant charges say 200 rupees for biryani while other charges 500? Why do consumers prefer one brand over another? Why does Starbucks survives while other cafe closes? Why does your favorite shop offer discounts? So remember, when you are seeing an economist studying one consumer, one business, one market, you are looking at microeconomics. Now, let us zoom out, way out it. Now, let us come to the topic of macroeconomics. The word macro means large. Imagine you are looking at an earth from a satellite instead of using a microscope. You don't see one shop, you see the entire country. You don't study one family's income, you study the income of million families. So that's macroeconomics. It is the study of the economy as a whole. So instead of asking why one shop increases prices, it asks why prices are increasing everywhere. In, Instead of asking why do one company hire more workers, it asks why unemployment is increasing across India. Instead of asking how much one person earns, it asks what is India's national income. See the difference? So, if we go into an historical insight, macroeconomics became extremely important after one of the biggest economic disaster in the history, the Great Depression of 1929. Many of you have heard this name. Stock market crashed, banks failed, businesses closed, billions of people lost their jobs. Factories stopped producing, government didn't know what to do. So economics realized that studying one individual market was not enough. They had to understand the entire economy. That is when the famous economist John Maynard Keynes revolutionized the economics. He argued that government should actively intervene during recessions by increasing spending and creating jobs. His ideas completely changed macroeconomics. Even today, during the crises like COVID-19, many governments followed Keynesian ideas by increasing public spending. Now let us see some modern examples. Why RBI increases interest rates? That is macroeconomics. Why government presents the union budget? That is macroeconomics. When newspapers report that inflation is 6%, GDP growth is 7%, say unemployment has fallen, foreign exchange reserves has increased, these are all macroeconomic indicators. Now, let us compare them together side by side. Microeconomics is about one student, one consumer, one family, one company, one market, one product. While macroeconomics is about entire country, entire economy, national income, inflation, GDP, employment, economic growth, international trade. Now I will give you an easy trick. Micro think is about me, means one person. And when we talk about macro, think about my nation. You will never forget. Just remember micro equal to me and macro equal to my nation. So micro is individual, macro is whole. Now we have learned what economics is and the difference between microeconomics and macroeconomics. But here is the most interesting part. Economics is not just a subject. It is the way of understanding the world around us. From the moment you wake up until you go to bed, you are making economic decisions. So let us see how. Imagine you wake up in the morning. You have two choices: sleep for another 30 minutes or wake up and study. You cannot do both at the same time. Choosing one means giving up another. That is economics. Now, suppose you are having breakfast. Have you ever wondered why tea costs less than coffee, or why vegetable prices change every season? These changes are not random. They depend on production, transportation, weather, and demand. Economics helps us understand these changes. So when you travel to college or work, you might notice that Uber or Ola fares increases during the rush hour or heavy rain. Why? Because people want more rides, but the number of drivers remain limited. Higher demand and limited supply leads to higher prices. That's economics in action. Let's look back into history for a moment. Thousands of years ago, traders and travelers across India carrying spices, silk, and cotton. If the harvest was poor, food became scarce and prices increases. If the harvest was good, prices fell. Today, instead of bullock carts, we have trucks and online delivery apps. But the basic economic principle remains exactly the same. Businesses also make economic decisions every day. Before opening up a cafe, an owner has to decide where to open it, how many employees to hire, what prices to charge. These are all economic decisions aimed at earning profit. The government face similar choices. Every year they prepare a budget. Since the money is limited, they must decide how much to spend on healthcare, on education, on defense, on roads, and many other sectors. Spending more in one area means often spending less in somewhere else. That's the idea of scarcity and choice at the national level. Even social media follows economics. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook are free to use, yet they earn billions through advertising. They understand that users like and show advertisement accordingly. That's another example of economics working behind the scenes. So next time you hear about petrol prices, discounts in a supermarket, a government budget, or even IPL auction, don't think of them as separate events. They are all connected through economics. So economics is not just about money, it is about understanding how people, businesses, and government make decisions when resources are limited. Before moving on, here is a small activity for you. Try to identify 5 economic decisions that are happening around you and share them in your comment. Once you start observing, you will realize that economics is everywhere. So today we learned economics is the science of choices. Scarcity is unavoidable. Choices are inevitable, and understanding economics helps us understand the world. In the next lecture, we will study scarcity, choice, and opportunity cost in much greater detail, including production possibility frontier and many practical examples. If you enjoyed this lecture, Like the video, subscribe to Economics with Mubdiul, and share it with anyone beginning their journey in economics. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next lecture. Thank you.